Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. I'm Brian Prairie.
And I'm Dr. Jeff Williamson.
I am just starting my leadership journey.
And I've been guiding leaders for 30 years.
Our podcast aims to shine a spotlight on outstanding leaders and provide a platform for them to describe their leadership journey and share the guiding principles that have helped them become great leaders.
Welcome to Leadership Level Up podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Williamson, and we're glad to have you with us today. I have a good friend with me I've been looking forward to having for a long time. Months ago, I said to Jeff Christian, dude, we have got to have you on the podcast. He's a podcaster himself. We'll talk more about that here in the intro, but I want to tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll welcome him in. Jeff is the founder and CEO of C4 Leaders, and that is a grassroots nonprofit organization. Their mission is to help build powerful teams. I love that. He has a lot of background and experience that I want to share with you besides founding C4 Leaders about 6.5 years ago. He is also the author of 2 different children's books that are called We Rise Together, the Pizza Day series. And so he's an author. He has also been a longtime basketball coach, both men and women's, coached for many years in high school in Northern California, where he is, as well as the Solano Stallions. That is a cool name. They are American Basketball Association professional league. So he's a baller himself, played years back at University of San Francisco. So when you're talking pizza or basketball or coaching, Jeff Christian is the guy you want to have on. So welcome, Jeff. Thanks for coming in and talking to us by way of Northern Cali.
Thank you so much. So excited to just spend some time with you and just take me back home. You know, you did leave out that I was blessed to assistant coach out there on the campus of beautiful ONU in Bourbonnais. And what a special time in my life to experience that community and be surrounded just by people that are just trying to get better and trying to figure life out. Special time in my life.
Yeah, and that's where our paths crossed. Before the year you coached at Olivet, we didn't know each other. And I think about 5 minutes after you got into town, we got a coffee. Coach Lauren Glenn, who's also been on this podcast in the past, she said, hey, there's a guy that's going to be a new assistant coach for us. You two have got to be friends. I just know it. And so, yeah, we met that year that you were assistant on the women's team here at Olivet, and we've been friends ever since. So, yeah, that's a big chunk of your coaching history, because if it weren't for that, I would have never known you at all.
Yeah, and I'm a better man for it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Love it very, very much. So as you know, this podcast is about leadership, and Jeff and I are both leadership junkies. We can talk it all day and all into the night. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you about who have been some impactful leaders in your life, both past and present. What are some concepts that you glean from some of the important leaders in your life?
Great question. And I think I'll just put it out there first. You know, I just worked with a group on Sunday, and it was some younger employees of a fast food restaurant here in town and their leadership team. And I started out with them 54 years old now, and I'm still trying to figure out life, and I'm still trying to get better, and I'm still trying to grow, you know, and I hope I never get to the space that I think I've figured it out, because then it's time for me to shut it down. And so when you ask that question, you know, who's been influential in my life, that's not easy, because it comes from everywhere. Because just like you said, we can talk about it all day, every day, 24/7, 365. And when you're in that space, you're always looking for things to add. I'll use my words now for what I'm looking for to my life recipe. And so they come from everywhere, you know, and a simple example of that is, you know, when Capriana, my oldest daughter, was out, you know, playing for Lauren out there, dropping her off to Oakland Airport or picking her up. And one time I'm going to Starbucks coffee, and there's an unhoused gentleman asking for money in front of Starbucks. And I love to help. So I say, hey, you know, I'm not going to give you any money, but let's come on in and let's sit and talk, you know, and kind of bread together. And his name was Larry. And I say, hey, Larry, you know, teach me something. And he says, okay, I'm going to teach you the double L technique, and I said, okay, I like the name of that, but what's the double L? And he says, you got to learn to listen and listen to learn. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that right now. And it just hit me that if we can allow ourselves to be humble and curious, just as a species, forget about being a leader, we can learn from almost every interaction that we have.
And I'm guessing Larry probably wasn't the first guy that the general public would say, I bet you that guy has something really good to contribute to my life. But you took the initiative to say, hey, break bread with me. What can you tell me? What can you share with me? And man, that's keeper material there.
Yeah. And I do believe everybody is a leader. And if we can just create the space for them to have those thoughts and to share those thoughts, and to relate it to basketball a little bit, you just start coaching up your players and helping them develop their confidence, and in Lauren's case of knocking down a lot of threes, all of a sudden they just get that bounce to their step. The ball becomes a little bit lighter. The rim looks so much bigger, and things start going in, and the game can come a lot easier, just like life, but can we get out of our own way to create that space for each other to share their voice, for each other to be seen, heard, and loved?
Yeah, I love that. And I think, when that happens, for that to happen, and I think you agree with this, is when we get outside of ourselves. We start looking out there rather than get me the ball. I need to get mine, which is the antithesis of what you're talking about. But yeah, you get in the flow of the game and you're moving and you're passing and you see, teammate open on the wing, pop it out, boom, see him again, boom, they get hot. Now we start really working. And it's because like in the games, that person with the ball is distributing the ball. They're not thinking about, man, I got to get to the bucket so I can score some points. They're looking for opportunities and distributing the ball to who is in the best position. I love that.
Me too. Yeah.
So you're a guy, as you shared, that you're looking to learn from anybody, anytime, anywhere. And I've seen you do that. What would you describe besides always looking and listening to look? I think that's what did I get that right? Yeah, sort of. What would be some other concepts you just say, hey, since we're all leaders, what are some things that are like key variables or key words, like you said, look and listen to people. I mean, those are big. If we're listening to other people, that's a big part of being an effective leader. Would there be other things you'd say, hey, for somebody to be a successful leader, I'd say there's a couple of 3 other things here. What might some of those be?
Oh, for sure. I got to drop my C4. And that's what our nonprofit is trying to do. And I think so many times we get it twisted that the leader has to be the person that's speaking. And I think a true leader is someone that listens first. And so my first C in C4 stuff is communication. And I think that's vital towards building any team, business, church, whatever organization it is. And I define communication a little bit different. I define it as listening with an empathetic ear with the intent of serving others. And I think a good leader, if they want to truly build a powerful team and powerful people, when they listen, then they can serve their employees and allow them to go out and shine. And that's a quote that I just ran across in one of the books I was reading, is shine by not shining, and allowing other people to kind of own that space, which then leads to my second C, which is chemistry. And I define that as developing trust in yourself to bring and receive value from the connections in your life. And so I think a good leader, again, is someone that can build that team, build that chemistry where everybody feels, again, seen, heard, and loved. There's the value, and then allows them, when they're feeling that, to share that with their brothers and sisters, with their teammates, with their coworkers, with their colleagues, with their family, with the people on the street that they're just going to, rub shoulders with. I think when we can do that, life is good. I don't know if you want me to keep dropping a few more, or you
Yeah,
want me
go
to.
ahead. Yeah, get the other two. Yeah, we're okay.
I can't say that I don't swear, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this on the show, but I don't swear. You know me, but I have to say this one word because it just goes with my C4 stuff, and I'm on consistency now. That's my third. And I think you want to be great at whatever you do. You got to BTA, and that means you got to bust that ass. You have to work hard and be put in the work and work smart. Whatever it is that you want to do with your craft. On the flip side of that, what I mean by consistency is to consistently challenge your thoughts and perspectives to the point of vulnerability. And what I mean more in a deeper way by that is giving yourself the grace to say, you know what, I don't have all the answers. I don't need to have all the answers. I'm gonna make mistakes. And when you can get into that space is when you can truly just play free and not worry, so to say, about missing the next shot. I got to just be relaxed and out there and know that my teammates and myself are just going to work through whatever challenge we're going through. And then that's how you truly empower the people in your space or on your team. And then that leads to the last C, which is creativity. And that's overcoming fear to share your gift. And we all have gifts that need to be shared. And I need to help you share yours. You need to help me. And if we could all just create this space for us to feel like, man, I have something to contribute that this world needs, man, that's powerful.
Absolutely.
And that's the C4 stuff.
Yeah, the word that was coming to my mind, and you referenced it, is the freedom that there can be and just playing the game or playing life so that you're not crawling along or tiptoeing along in fearful mindset, but rather you just get in the flow of the game and enjoy it and let it happen and just keep playing. I was thinking about, we're talking about Tiger Ball, and they just get, you just keep shooting, man. They got to keep shooting. If they miss a few, that's okay. Keep shooting, man. They're going to go in. And when they do, it's bonus, baby. So yeah, I love that. Yeah. Freedom as to how we approach life, freedom as we approach a game. I love that. I love that. What were some nuggets too from your coaching days? I know, as I didn't mention this, but you're a registered nurse. You and Dahlia both are career healthcare professionals. And so that's a different context, but I'm guessing some of those concepts of leadership and involving other people and engaging them in the process is something that you've seen for 30 plus years as a nurse.
I would have to just tap into listening. In my background, worked as a nurse for 29 years, half of those at UC Davis, which is a level 1 trauma center. I worked in the trauma ICU. I took care of people shot, stabbed, really bad car accidents. So I've been surrounded by death. And I think when you're in that space every day, the best thing that I could do for my patients, and you always took care of the family. Not to sound bad, but my patients, for the most part, were so sick that they were pretty much comatose. So you always talk to the patient, but you didn't interact because they weren't in a space to interact for the most part. So you really took care of the families. And I think just sharing space to listen and try and be there for people during the worst times of their life. Because most time, someone was just walking home, got shot, wrong place, time. Most of the time, people are coming home from Lake Tahoe, where people out in my area go skiing. Unfortunately, someone's drinking, boom, car accident. And now they're fighting for their life. And so trying to help people just work through change and work through just taking one step at a time and work through trying to have belief and hope and find inspiration in some way. And then also trying to establish trust, which was huge, that I always wanted to be totally transparent in that space because I needed the family to be able to go home and sleep and know that I was going to have their back. I was going to
be here.
Their mother or their sister or their mom or their dad so they could go find a little bit of peace, even if it was just for an hour or two. And so it was such an honor for me to work in that field for that time of my life. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, those are some of those darkest moments, and to be able to establish trust quickly when yesterday these folks didn't know you, and today you're providing care to one of their loved ones. And as you said, one of the most critical moments of their life. And that's such a big part of leadership in general, too, is establishing trust and transparency and communication and all the things that you mentioned with the C4 model, which I love. So one of the things that I always like to ask our guests, and for those of us that in our 20s are pretty far in the rearview mirror, I especially enjoy asking a question, is what advice would you give your 20-something-year-old Jeff if you could go back and say, hey, listen, sit down. Let me tell you a couple things I've learned over the past 25, 30 years, more in my case.
Yeah. And I love that question. And I don't know if I'm going to have a great answer for you, because I've made so many mistakes, Jeff. And like I said, I'm still learning. And I think that's part of the challenges of life is, and I'll use my pizza stuff now, is kind of to the fire, so to say, and feeling that heat. And I think, I don't know if I would want to not be able to make the mistakes that I made, because they've totally shaped my life, and I can give so many different examples in so many different spaces. And were they hard lessons to go through? Yeah. At the time, I wish I wouldn't have been in that space, for sure. But years later, you look at it, it's like, man, that was the hardest thing that I ever experienced in my life. But it totally shaped how I see the world and how it changed me and allowed me to grow as a person. So yeah, I don't really have anything that I would tell other than to hold on, and run to those moments that perhaps you're scared, go first, don't sit back, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's a good word. If I could summarize what I think I was hearing you say was, mistakes are part of life. Don't fear them. Don't make them on purpose. But as they happen, and as you find yourself in tough situations that maybe you thought were going to go differently, is to know that they can be instructive in the long run. They can be lessons to say, okay, I think I understand why things played out that way and why things turned out and why I was in that situation. So I can learn from that if I don't want to revisit that. And again, like you said, that has reshaped our story, has reshaped our expectations and how we approach things. And one of the big pieces I loved of that is just to don't let fear hold you back, where you said, run toward those things. Don't be the person that sits back and says, well, I'm going to wait and see if everybody else gives this a try. Because when we talk about leadership, it's often not the one that's talking, but the one says, I'm going to go off the high dive. Let's go, climb it, jump, and take a flying leap and see.
I love it.
Before we land the plane on this segment, first of all, I want to express appreciation for you coming on and being with us. This is the last question I'll throw at you, which is a variation of this. I know you have two lovely daughters, and they are 20-somethings as well. So I'll maybe try a different spin on that question. What are some things that you've learned being a dad of now young adults in your family? That's leadership too, man.
Great question. And I think it's just the power of relationship, and I think as a younger parent, you're still trying to figure out, how do I shape my kids' lives instead of creating this space for your kids to shape their own life.
Mm.
And I think for me, it's been interesting. My youngest daughter lives in Spain now, and don't get to spend as much time, but you have to have the belief and the confidence that while you had the time together, you helped her shape her life to be able to go live in another country as a young woman and to have the confidence to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, my older daughter now is a nurse and doing her thing. And I think I'm learning to just back to the unconditional love of just loving each other for who we are. My kids are so different, with their personalities and things. And I would say my older one is a little bit more like her mom, likes to speak the truth. And sometimes that's hard for me to hear. But now that they're adults, like, man, I like her being assertive, which is a good characteristic to have. And so, to just finish it up, allowing your kids to find their space, and then you to kind of just embrace that and love them and allow them, just like I talked about when you asked me the earlier question, to make mistakes and to perhaps occasionally be there for some scaffolding, to allow them to push themselves back up, but to not build it for them.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we both have kids in their 20s, and I think the summary I would add to that is that we just give them confidence, like you said, and reassure them that we'll figure it out. It'll sooner or later, it'll be okay. One way or another, it's going to be okay. And as you said, knowing that there's nothing they can do to ever cause you not to love them, that you're present no matter where they are on this earth. And I think that's a gift that you've given. So I appreciate you sharing that so much. Thanks for being with us today, man. Every time we talk, I'm like, dude, we could go on for hours, but in this case, we can't today. So thanks again for being with us, sharing your insights, talking about C4 and the things that really stir your heart. I love that, and I knew it'd be a great conversation. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me on, Jeff. And every time I get to see it, just takes me back. You sitting on the couch, us hanging out, drinking some coffee, going all over the place. So yeah, it's such an honor to just be with you again.
Yeah. Yep. I love bringing the coffee tour to Northern California. That was a blast for sure. We'll do it again, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
All right, Jeff. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Leadership Level Up. Please subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with great leaders.